Honorable President of India, ladies and gentlemen, good evening and a Happy New Year. It gives me immense pleasure and pride to accompany the probationers to meet the Honorable President of India. We, the officers of the Indian Defence Accounts Service, are deeply honored and privileged to have an audience with the Honorable President. For the probationers, it's a very memorable and motivating experience to meet the Honorable President of India at the very start of their career. So the Defence Accounts Department is one of the oldest departments of the Government of India. As you are aware, it is more than 2.5 centuries old. In its approach and service delivery, the department is highly professional and has embraced modern technologies and management techniques. The Indian Defence Accounts Service provides a senior management cadre to the Defence Accounts Department. The officers are inducted through the Civil Services examination. They are required not only to lead their teams with higher professional capabilities, but also to meet the growing demands of the clientele, that is the 3 defense forces, Defense Research and Development Organization, Border Roads Organization, Ordnance Factories, Indian Coast Guard, for efficient, effective, and expedient service delivery in the field of payment and accounting, internal audit, and financial advice, besides disbursement of pension and budget management. It is towards this end that the training program has been designed for the IDS probationers. So these probationers have already undergone 24 weeks of professional training in finance and management at the National Institute of Financial Management, Faridabad. The training at NIFM Faridabad provides deeper insights into finance management and techniques, role of information technology in managerial decision-making, government budgeting and accounting, and Indian economy. This training also has an overseas module, which they go abroad for 2 weeks. This part of the training gives the probationers an exposure into the financial administration practices and procedures of other countries, and also their best practices. So these probationers are presently undergoing a 35 weeks departmental training program. This program has been designed to apprise them of the department's role and functions, the organization of the defense forces, and their needs vis-à-vis the Defense Accounts Department and the probationers' own role as managers, financial advisors, and leaders. The training includes the theoretical inputs and the about rules and procedures, as well as attachment to various offices to provide them the understanding of the practical aspects of the working. Visits to various defense establishments, including an attachment to a forward army post, have also been planned to give them a first-hand experience of the working life of the department's clientele. In future, this will help them in making informed and empathic decisions. In your presence, sir, we reiterate our commitment to the department's motto, in the service of the services, and we seek your guidance and support towards achieving departmental goals and enabling defense preparedness of our great country. Thank you, sir.
Honorable President of India, ladies and gentlemen, a very good evening to all of you. It is an honor to be in this building, which is the greatest symbol of our sovereignty and the lighthouse of our democracy. It becomes all the more apt to share our training experiences here which acts as a lighthouse for us. It was a cold, wintry morning towards the end of December in 2015. A rush of activity was observed at the usually quiet Center for Training and Development. Individuals from different parts of the country had poured in after completing 3 months of foundation course at Lal Bahadur Shastri National Academy of Administration in Mussoorie. The new year of 2016 found us in the midst of flowers and gardens in the sprawling campus of National Institute of Financial Management in Faridabad. Basics of government accounting, economics, and public financial management were for the taking. From hosting high-level dignitaries to conducting a bright cultural extravaganza, from experiencing the warmth of Lodi to the splash of colors on Holi, NIFM ensured that we experienced a bit of everything. The camaraderie we developed with the fellow officer trainees of the sister accounting services will serve the Government of India in good stead. The module ended on a high with a 2 weeks international attachment at Seneca College in Toronto. Along with lessons on accrual accounting, we also took home the trust-based systems in place and the public-centric approach of governance. Thereafter, Pune, amidst the monsoon glory, welcomed us at the National Academy for Defense Financial Management. The Academy took us through a long journey of the years and diversity of work of the Defense Accounts Department through various structured modules. Senior officers and distinguished dignitaries held us captive. Formal interactions taught us the rule books, and informal interactions tabled their vast and varied experiences before us. Problems, solutions, and possible consequences blended like tea leaves and milk during the breaks. In the coming months, the country will be crisscrossed as we would visit many of the offices dotting the map, each leaving an impression on our undotted minds. Like all good things, this phase, too, would end. But by then, the lighthouse wouldn't have just shown us the way. It would have also steadied the ship. And more importantly, equipped the men with the skills to tackle the troubled waters. Honorable President, as we move into this last leg of our training, I can assure you that this eventful journey of the training has been rewarding, transforming us into true officers. Files are no longer sheets of paper pinned together, but the government in working. DO letter pads are not the signs of authority, but tools for organized, thoughtful correspondence. Rule positions are not the lines in books, but the convictions of an officer. And IDAS is not a badge, but an emotion that guides all of us. Thank you, sir. Jai Hind.
परम आदरणीय राष्ट्रपति महोदय, नव वर्ष की हार्दिक शुभकामनाएं। आज राष्ट्रपति भवन के इस भव्य एवं ऐतिहासिक प्रांगण में हम सभी भारतीय रक्षा लेखा सेवा के प्रशिक्षु अधिकारियों के जीवन का यह एक गौरवान्वित क्षण है। यह हमारा सौभाग्य है कि हमें अपने प्रशिक्षण के अनुभवों को व्यक्त करने का अवसर मिला है। महोदय, हमारे प्रशिक्षण की शुरुआत लाल बहादुर शास्त्री राष्ट्रीय प्रशासनिक अकादमी मसूरी में आधारभूत पाठ्यक्रम के अध्ययन के साथ हुई। वहां पर हमें भारतीय प्रशासनिक सेवा एवं अन्य लोक सेवाओं के प्रशिक्षु अधिकारियों के साथ भी संवाद करने का अवसर मिला। समानांतर समयाकाल में सांस्कृतिक संध्याओं, मनोरंजक कार्यक्रमों, खेल कूद के क्रियाकलापों एवं देशाटन के माध्यम से हमारा भारतीय भौगोलिक, सांस्कृतिक एवं भाषाई विविधताओं से परिचय हुआ। साथ ही हमने एक दूसरे के त्योहारों, प्रतीकों, मान्यताओं एवं अनुभवों से बहुत कुछ सीखा। महोदय, तत्पश्चात हमने राष्ट्रीय वित्तीय प्रबंधन संस्थान फरीदाबाद में वित्तीय प्रबंधन, वित्तीय प्रशासन, सरकारी लेखांकन एवं सूचना प्रौद्योगिकी जैसे विविध विषयों का अध्ययन किया। इसी दौरान हमने राष्ट्रीय लेखा परीक्षा एवं लेखा अकादमी शिमला, RBI स्टाफ कॉलेज चेन्नई तथा अंतर्राष्ट्रीय प्रशिक्षण के अंतर्गत सेनेका कॉलेज टोरंटो, कनाडा जाने का अवसर मिला, जहां हमने विभिन्न वित्तीय विषयों एवं प्रक्रियाओं का ज्ञान प्राप्त किया। महोदय, वर्तमान में हम सब राष्ट्रीय रक्षा वित्तीय प्रबंधन अकादमी पुणे से संबद्ध हैं। वहाँ हम सब रक्षा लेखा विभाग के मुख्य दायित्वों भुगतान, लेखांकन, आंतरिक लेखा परीक्षा एवं वित्तीय सलाह के विभिन्न आयामों का प्रशिक्षण प्राप्त कर रहे हैं। महोदय, हमारा विभाग भारतीय थल सेना, वायुसेना, नौसेना, सीमा सड़क संगठन, रक्षा अनुसंधान एवं विकास संगठन तथा अन्य अंतर सेवा संगठनों को अपनी सेवाएं प्रदान कर रहा है। महोदय, हमारा उद्देश्य वाक्य है सेवाओं की सेवा में, अर्थात राष्ट्र निर्माण में हमारी सफलता तभी सुनिश्चित होगी जब हम इन संगठनों के लिए इनके कर्तव्यों के निर्वहन में एक संतुलित सहयोगी की भूमिका निभा पाएंगे। महोदय, हमारा विश्वास है कि हम सब इन दायित्वों को इनकी परिणति तक पहुंचा सकेंगे जो हमें इस प्रतिष्ठित सेवा में मिले हैं। इसी उद्देश्य को हम सफलतापूर्वक प्राप्त कर सकें, इसके लिए हम सब आज यहाँ आपके मार्गदर्शन एवं आशीर्वचनों की कामना करते हैं। जय हिंद, जय भारत।
Good evening. Srimati Veena Prasad, Additional Controller General of Defence Accounts, Probationers, Indian Defence Account Service 2015 batch. Ladies and gentlemen, first of all, I like to welcome you to Rashtrapati Bhavan and also to welcome you to the services which you have joined. Today is the 2nd of January, beginning of the new year. I wish you new year to be very happy and prosperous for all of you. I would also like to congratulate you on the success of each individual of you in a very difficult competitive examination. After that, you have undergone detailed training programs which have been described by the Additional Director General, Controller General of Defence Accounts, and also in your narrating the experiences gathered during the last year, two of you have stated what type of training you have undergone and how it has benefited you to discharge your responsibilities and duties. I would like to congratulate you not only on your success of the very stiff competitive examination, which speaks of your academic excellence, but also joining the civil service. Joining the civil service gives you an opportunity to share much more responsibility at a tender young age, in which you find that decision-making power is much more than in any service of contemporary nature outside the public services. Therefore, your choice to join the civil service itself is laudatory, and I congratulate you for doing this. You will get immense opportunities in the next 30-35 years to serve your country and contribute your own efforts in building the nation. Surely you are aware of this company, this institution, this Defence Account Service is very old. more than 267 years ago, it was established by the East India Company, which captured power through series of battles in the middle of the 18th century. Since then, the organization developed. Up to 1951, your department was known as Military Accounts Department, and subsequently it was brought within the purview of the control of CAG, and the combined examination of various account services, including defense account services, are being held regularly by UPSC. And as I mentioned, it's a very stiff and difficult competitive examination. Administrative control of this department was with the Ministry of Finance for a very long period of time. In 1983, it was transferred to the Ministry of Defense. Incidentally, I happened to be the finance minister then, and my predecessor, illustrious predecessor, Sri Venkatraman, was then defense minister. The reason was obvious, because in 1973 itself, a decision was taken which started getting implemented from 1975, that in order to have the approach of the integrated financial control and management, the department concerned should have the advice and input from the audit and accounts branch, and therefore it was decided to have the integrated financial advice in the ministry and department concerned itself. In that process, it was transferred, and now it is controlled by the Controller of Defense Accounts. Additional Controller General is present here. As you have understood during this year of training, that our defense expenditure is expanding very fast. We are not only having the largest standing army in the second largest standing army in the world, next to China, and it is also a very old one. Of the three wings of our armed services, Indian Air Force and Indian Navy were established much later as part of the Royal Navy or Royal Air Force. Air Force was the latest baby in the sense it was established in 1930s. Navy was little earlier. But Indian Army was Indian Army, British Indian Army, which was raised by the East India Company. Because when they received a charter from the Mughal Emperor to carry on trade and business in this country, they also got the authority as per practice then to maintain a skeleton army for their own protection and protection of their economic and commercial interests, which were normally granted by the sovereign of the country in which they were having trade and commerce. So Indian Army has a very long and old history, more than 250 years. And your organization has also grown along with the growth of Indian Army. From a simple fact, you will understand the dimension of expansion which has taken place over the years. In the first budget of independent India, which was presented in November 1947, for the year 47-48, as country became independent in the August 1947, as per the normal practice, budget of 47-48 for undivided India was presented in the month of March, rather last working day of February. Thereafter, the partition took place, and there was a demand that for the independent part of the country, independent India, there should be separate budget. And the then finance minister presented the budget in November 1947 for the year 47-48. Total budgetary outlay expenditure was very small, and of that, defense budget was substantial. It was not known as defense, but as military budget, military expenditure was 91.7 crores. And the financial year, which is coming to a close in the month of March, for the current year, it is more than 2.5 lakh crores. And therefore, from 92 crores rather, because 91.7, over the 70 years, expenses have increased. How many times you can calculate? It was 2.5 lakh crores budgetary estimate. I do not know at the revised stage whether it will be increased or decreased. Because the responsibility of the defense forces have also increased in its nature and operational dimension. They are to protect the country, ensure our safety and security of our land border, our sky, and also our coastline, sea routes. We have more than 750 kilometers coastline, south, east, west. We have huge land border with China, Afghanistan, Pakistan, Bangladesh, Bhutan, Nepal. Therefore, to protect this vast territory, the responsibility lies on the armed forces. Therefore, they are to equip themselves, modernize themselves, upgrade their skill, and also to maintain a reasonable size. We have no expansionist policy. More than often, Indian prime ministers, defense ministers, and foreign ministers have pointed out that we have no territorial ambition. We do not want to acquire the land of others. We have also no commercial interests to establish colonies, as it was the policy of the European powers several centuries, and which continued till the end of the Second World War in the last century. Neither we have territorial ambition, nor we have commercial interests to protect. And for that we do not require to maintain such a large number of armed forces. But we want to protect our territory. These two are totally different issues. I may not have interest in others' land, but if others have interest in my land, I cannot allow that. Indian Constitution does not provide any authority, even to the Parliament, to part with any part of the country. Therefore, to protect our land, to protect our interests, we require that minimum deterrent which is called in the size, skill, and upgradation of our armed forces are absolutely necessary. To maintain such a huge number of armed forces, Air Force, Navy, and Indian Armed Forces, a regular check and balance in their expenditure is necessary. There will be a probability, which is your fundamental training, that executive will likely to indulge in profligacy, to spend more. Your accounting skill, your sharp eyes on audit will prevent executive in indulging these type of profligacies. You are truly watchdogs. And the executive always remember that somebody is watching my expenditure activities. And if I go beyond the financial rules, authorities, power, limit of expenditure which is entrusted to me and determined by law, administrative or otherwise, audit will catch me and comments will be made. This fear provides a sense of the check and balance. And this is a very important job. Therefore, you shall have to be very careful in discharging your responsibilities. On the one hand, you shall have to see that you cannot be totally blind to the need of the situation where the armed forces require urgently for procurement. The normal process of tendering, competition may not be possible because of time constraints and other things. You shall have to keep in mind the circumstances under which such activities are taking place. But surely, under the normal circumstances, you will not like to allow the deviation or departure. And where deviation and departure are allowed, will have to be scrutinized from the necessity of urgency and the extent of necessity. Second point on which you will also have to be very careful, we are not that advanced as many of our countries in the world, particularly the Western powers, especially United States, Russia, UK, France. They are technologically far superior to us. And what is power? Power is technology. Superpower is super technology. How America won the Second World War? Our Allied forces, the last weapon they used was atom bomb. The Axis power, Germany or Italy or Japan, did not have access to this dangerous weapon. While dropping 2 bombs at Hiroshima and Nagasaki, concluded the war, Second World War, which began in September 1939. In September 1945. In European front, the war was over in May. And there also superior technological weapons and superiority in number of men and materials were in favor of the Allied powers against the Axis powers. So Hitler, Mussolini, and leaders of the Axis powers in Europe surrendered. But in Japan, finally US President Truman had to take the decision of drop atom bombs. There is a book, if you get time you can read it. This book is written by Truman's daughter, Margaret. Title of the book is Where the Buck Stops. And when Truman was told after the death of Roosevelt, after 24 minutes of being sworn in as president, by his national security advisor, that there is a bomb called atom bomb, he was always putting a question to him, what is this destructive power in terms of TNT? Then the expert had to tell him, sir, in terms of TNT, it can never be measured. It has never been, all the calculations are on paper. It has never been tested because test fire is so dangerous that nobody ventured to do it. And as Vice President also, you had no access to this information. Only President Roosevelt knew, National Security Advisor knew, and Chief of Staff of the security forces, the then General Eisenhower, he knew except these 3 persons, neither British Prime Minister, nor Russian Chief Stalin, Roosevelt, nobody had any knowledge. Now as President, it is my responsibility to inform you as you have been elected President, to tell you the existence of this weapon, and as and when you will command, we can use it. Finally, Truman agreed in September to drop these 2 bombs. So this is the short point which I am trying to drive at, that technology is the power in weapons, in system, platform. If you have access to superior technology, then you have the power. And this superior technology, those who are in possession, they are not ready to pass it on to anybody else. So our efforts in the Ministry of Defense had been, through DRDO, we constantly make efforts to upgrade our technology. The latest Agni testing, which have been done by very successfully. In the missile technology, we have made substantial improvement. And one of the President, Dr. Kalam, was father of Indian missile technologies. But in many other areas, we are to import. cost of import is very high. Making indigenously, there may be so many failures. But audit will have to take, audit and accounting, your job as watchdog on the expenditure. You will have to take a balanced view, keeping in view the supreme requirement of the country to protect its national interest, and also the requirement of financial prudence. This is a very balancing job. And that's why I was telling you that this job on such young shoulders, in no other ministry, no other activities other than civil service, you will find it. In any mercantile corporation, you could have earned more. Your salaries would have been fatter. Perks would have been much more attractive. But responsibility would be nowhere to the extent which you will exercise as young administrators in the public service. Very soon after the end of your training, you will be entrusted with your respective charges. And as I told you earlier, that for the next 30, 35 years, you will go up and up. It depends on your competence and capacities. I wish you all success for each one of you in your endeavors in the future. Thank you, ladies and gentlemen. Thank you indeed.
Honorable President and other dignitaries, I feel honored and privileged to get an opportunity to propose vote of thanks. Sir, on behalf of the Defense Accounts Department and my colleague probationers, I express my deepest sense of gratitude to you for sharing your invaluable thoughts and time with us. Sir, we are fortunate to get an opportunity to serve our great country. I take this opportunity to assure you that we will carry out our duties with full commitment and integrity to render prudent financial advice, efficient accounting, prompt payment, and effective internal audit services to the Army, Navy, Air Force, Ordnance Factory, Defense Research and Development, and other defense organizations. I must mention our deep sense of appreciation for the officers and secretariat staff of Rashtrapati Bhavan who have coordinated and made this occasion possible and successful. We are equally thankful to our department for arranging this meeting. Sir, at the end, I once again thank you very much for your august presence on this memorable occasion. We are all truly inspired by your great words, sir. Thank you, sir.